Am I the a-hole for not helping my sister to remove something that insults her? My sister cheated on her husband. Her husband is a restaurant owner. He has one of those quirky restaurants with funny food names. It's all one-liners. I'm not a fan of it because I find it embarrassing, but the food is good. Once the divorce went through, he added a menu item along the lines of Sarah's cheating chicken ass. My sister's name is something super generic, and I know like 19 Sarahs. A friend sent Sarah the menu and she was outraged. She came to me to ask me to help her take it down. I'm not a lawyer and don't plan to be, but I've taken corporate law courses and have friends that are lawyers. But I don't want to help her. In my personal opinion, she deserves this and I don't want to get involved. The only ones that would know who this is about already know the story. So there is not really a case for defamation. And there are too many Sarahs. The only thing we could do is send a cease and desist letter. But that's not legally binding and it's a hassle. I told my sister so and she got mad at me and told our parents, who say that what her ex is doing is worse than what she did. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. The fact that she claims this is worse than her cheating on her ex-husband tells me that she's going to present herself as the victim regardless of what you do. So you might as well stick to your guns. I'd go buy one of those meals and encourage the ex, not stay home. Also, does she not know about this Streisand effect? The more you try to censor something, the more known it becomes. This is a win-win for the poor ex-husband. Either he gets a laugh or he has to take it off the menu. But the entire town knows that his ex-wife Sarah cheated on him and got butthurt that he called her out. Even though he will definitely name something else the ex-wife lost at lasagna or the cheating ex-wife Streisand salad. And when he takes it off the menu, it can be renamed to XYZ's cheating chicken ass. Not stay home. She made her bed, now she can lay her cheating chicken butt in it. Served on a bed of lettuce with a side wiener. Not stay home. She's welcome to consult a lawyer. You would be the a-hole if you started picking up the dish as takeout and serving it to her, but a funny a-hole. Lol, but no. I'm vegetarian and it's a fried chicken dish. Not stay home. Although even if I ate chicken, I'd never order chicken butt. And cheating chicken butt herself should remember that she will only become infamous should she attempt to publicize this. Absolutely. I would lay good odds that at least half the people reading the menu will think it's a reference to cheating on your diet, and another quarter or so of them will wonder if it's a reference to a song. Vanishingly few customers will think, oh yeah, the owner's ex-wife cheated on him, and he's immortalized her in a chicken dish. Unless, of course, she tries to sue him and the story goes viral. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for bringing my entire family to the restaurant where my girlfriend was working as a server in order to meet her? I, 24 male, have been dating my girlfriend, 26 female, for several months. She works as a server at a local popular restaurant. My family has been for a few weeks now asking to meet her. I have 2 older sisters, 31 and 27, as well as 3 nieces and mother and father who are both in their late 50s. My girlfriend doesn't have a good relationship with her parents and has expressed envy over me having a good relationship with mine. I've asked her a few times to come with me to meet my family, but she's always had an excuse why she couldn't. So anyway, last weekend I brought my whole family, my parents as well as my sisters and their husbands and their kids, to a restaurant. I requested a table in her section. When she saw us, I could tell that she was taken aback. But she did her job well, and even took the time to talk to us and get to know my parents, sisters, brothers-in-law, and nieces as well as she could, while still doing her job and taking care of her other customers. Upon leaving, my entire family expressed that they really liked her, that I was lucky, and that they were glad to have met her. They also left her a huge tip. I thought the whole thing was fine. However, after she got off her shift, my girlfriend texted me and said, "Thanks a lot, you jackass." I called her and she went off on me about how I shouldn't have blindsided her by bringing my whole family, and how she should have had a chance to meet my family on her terms. I responded that she didn't seem to want to meet my family whenever I brought it up, so that if it were to ever happen, this was the way it figured out. But she said that what I did was wrong, and that she had to give my family special attention at the expense of her other tables, which I think wasn't true. Maybe I shouldn't have sprung my whole family on her in the way I did, but it went well, and I am kind of annoyed that she can't see that. You're the a-hole. The update will be that she dumped you and that you're surprised. She's right. You've blindsided her with something that she's having difficulty coping with. Instead of easing her into another possible meeting scenario, offering only meeting one of your sisters at a time, for example, and respecting whatever decision she made, you show up with your whole family at her place of work. So not only you are ignoring her opinions, but you're also putting her on a tough time at work. Please update us that she broke up with you. Not only at work, but in a situation in which she literally has to serve them. You're the a-hole. And it's not even as if he turned up with just his parents or just one of his siblings, for example. He blindsided her with his parents, his siblings, their spouses, and their kids. The whole bloody shebang. You're the a-hole, OP. Big time. He's already the a-hole for just showing up with so many people and requesting a specific server section without a reservation. Adding into context that it was his girlfriend's section, and that he was bombarding her with his family she was meeting for the first time, really just catapults this even further into you're the a-hole territory. Beyond a-hole. Oh, you're the a-hole for sure. How uncomfortable for her. Regardless that her family liked her and left a huge tip. Yuck. I'd be so pissed at you if it was me. The fact that you don't see an issue is a huge issue. You should be very apologetic to her. Next story. Am I the a-hole for moving my 3 best friends into my new house when I have a boyfriend? For 6 years, I rented a shared house with my friends Jessica, Megan, and Becky. We each paid $880 a month for rent and utilities, and I'd been saving up for a down payment on my own house. I was in a relationship with Bruce, but he'd said he wasn't ready to live together, so when I wanted to become a homeowner, I figured I need to do it myself. We'd been seeing each other casually for a year and been in a committed relationship for a year for context. I found a house that needed a bit of work, but I'm handy, and the mortgage came to $680 a month, plus $350 a month for taxes and insurance. The utilities come out to about $300 a month if I was to heat and use the whole house. I asked my friends if they'd want to move into my house. We could all save some money. We could split the utilities and taxes and insurance 4 ways. And I'd ask for $75 each a month towards my mortgage because I didn't think it was fair to ask them to pay much towards my mortgage when I'm the one building equity in my home. I wasn't wanting to profit off my friends like a landlord. So it'd be a good deal for me. I'd be paying $617 a month instead of $1,330 monthly cost. And my friends would be paying $237 a month for rent and utilities instead of $880, which was our old rent. And they could save up for their own house down payment that way. They said yes. They also all offered to help me with my DIY work and renovation I'll be doing, since I'm charging so little in rent, and since they want to learn how to do their own work for when they get houses too. So that's so helpful, having 3 extra pairs of hands around. This month, my friends and I made a big move, and around that time my boyfriend wanted to have a more serious financial talk. He wanted to know how long I'd be renting out the rooms in my house, and I said I wasn't sure. My friends are trying to save up to buy too, so I'd want to live with them for a while. He asked why they couldn't save up in their old house, and I said because that was $880 a month, not $237. He was incredulous I was only charging that much for rent and utilities. And he said he thought I was renting rooms out to pay down my mortgage. I could rent each room for $700 at least, and more that would cover my mortgage and make a profit. I was like, I'm not trying to make a profit off my friends, not even have them pay for my mortgage. He said he honestly didn't like that I was renting out rooms and still living in a shared house like a sorority girl, but was alright with it thinking it was a smart financial decision. But now when I'm not even making a profit? He said I seemed immature still wanting to live in a party house and not be thinking about our future. I said I thought he didn't want to move towards living together yet. And he said that he was thinking maybe not this year, but maybe next. I said that we could talk about him moving in time, and he shut that down saying he wants an adult home and not a sorority house. He feels like I was thoughtless and not thinking about our future. Am I the a-hole for moving my friends into my house? Edit. A lot of people are suggesting I charge my friends more because of maintenance costs or me taking on all the risks. I was expecting to be the sole owner and fully responsible for the house's costs before buying, and budgeted for that case. Having friends stay with me and have my monthly costs is a bonus, but I'm not treating it like a landlord situation. I intended to buy myself a house and be fully responsible for my own house. Having friends stay with me, keep me company, and help me out with the DIY and the bills is an added bonus. So basically, I don't see it as a business where I'm trying to profit or make my friends responsible for my responsibilities as an owner. I just see it as me as a homeowner, and I happen to have some friends lodging. Not stay home. Allow me to translate. Why are you letting them live with you and charging them only $75 a month when you could be letting me live with you and charge only $74 a month? I'd recommend rethinking the relationship. Haha, the funny thing is, if he wanted to move in together without my friends there, he wouldn't be paying what one of them are. He'd be paying closer to what three of them are. Because I know he doesn't want to live in a house full of girls. His opinion on this is honestly irrelevant. He openly said he doesn't want to move in. It has no intentions of moving in for a stated amount of time. You and your friends are in a win-win situation, and that's the bottom line. You're not a-hole. If he keeps pushing or such, remember 3 good friends are more healthy than 1 questionable partner. Not a-hole at all. I do think your friends could pay you a bit more though, but I know you said you don't want that. I think maybe you should have an ex-boyfriend though. The other aspect is that the house could use some work. Repainting, upgrades, etc. And my friends all offered to help with the DIY work to contribute since I'm not asking a lot financially. They want to learn some DIY skills and how to use tools for when they get their own homes. And I'm getting free help with home renovations, which wouldn't come cheap if I had to hire guys. So I feel like it's something that we're all happy with and all benefiting from. The fact that he keeps referring to it as a sorority house tells me it thinks of you as a child trying to form a club with your friends, as opposed to an adult buying and fixing up a house with your friends living there in a mutually beneficial arrangement. He also seems to think the only way you can be an adult about it is by involving him in the house instead, but you know, only when he feels like it. Pretty big red flag here. Yeah. I felt like it made at least some sense as a joke because my roommates are some of my sorority sisters from college, and we host parties for some of our other old friends from Greek life too. So it honestly does feel like a grown-up version of our sorority house at times. The 4 of us have lived together since college, first in a sorority house, then our first rental house, now my current house. We've actually joked that we are the Alpha Omega Epsilon granny house. But it's so condescending he calls it a sorority house in a non-joking way. Like it's a joke between my friends and I. But he was acting like we were actually acting like kids. I feel like he sees me as immature for still living with the same group of girls that I was in college. Like I'm still living the college girl lifestyle. And yeah, we like throwing parties and having girls' nights sometimes. But we all work full-time jobs, are being financially responsible, and definitely have grown up a lot since we met at 18. Last story. Am I the a-hole for letting my daughter disrespect my girlfriend and refusing to punish her after she called my girlfriend some names? Plus little update. I, 34 male, have a daughter, Haley, 18 female, with my ex, 34 female. Yes, I got the ages correct. For background, neither of our families were happy when they found out we were expecting, but her family got over it after Haley was born, but mine cut me out. The only one who stayed in touch with me was my sister. My daughter doesn't know why I'm not in touch with my family because I don't want her to feel responsible. So my ex and I have always told her that I cut them out because I didn't like them. I have Haley with me every other week, and ex and I split costs of everything regarding her. We are on speaking terms but don't hang out often, only on Haley's birthday and Thanksgiving every year. I haven't been seeing my girlfriend, 36 female, for over a year now. She's not a kids person, doesn't want them, but is on good terms with Haley. My daughter will be leaving for college in another month, so she wanted to go shopping for new clothes and things she will need to set up for her new apartment. She wanted both me and her mother to go with her, and girlfriend wasn't invited. I was happy to, but my girlfriend wasn't. She didn't speak to me, but directly went to Haley and said that Haley was being disrespectful to girlfriend by making me spend a day with my ex. Haley then told my girlfriend that it would be the last time I would have to spend time with my ex, until the next milestone like her wedding or having children, etc. But it only upset girlfriend even further. When Haley told me about this, I was upset and told my girlfriend that if at any point she has a problem with what I do, she is to speak to me and not my kid. 3 days ago, when my daughter, girlfriend, and I were at my place, the topic of college came up. Haley asked me if I would ever consider going to college myself. I said no, and when she asked why, I told her that I felt a little old for it now, and I have a well-paying job, so it isn't necessary. When she asked if I would consider that if we're still 18, my girlfriend literally said, "Of course you would. You do realize that you being born is the reason his family cut him in the first place, right?" Haley got upset/angry and yelled at my girlfriend about how she could just not be happy that Haley has a stable life, and then called her some names. I was in too much shock to say anything, so I just asked my girlfriend to leave. I tried speaking to girlfriend the next day, but she said she wouldn't speak to me unless I punished my daughter to make her apologize to my girlfriend. I said no, I wouldn't make my daughter apologize. She hung up on me, and I have been getting texts from girlfriend's brothers calling me an a-hole for letting my daughter treat their sister like that. Haley has been avoiding me and her mom ever since. She leaves early, comes home late, and is eating out, and I can't help but blame my girlfriend for that. I know name-calling is bad, but I feel like girlfriend brought that on herself. Am I the a-hole here? Now for the top comments before reading the little update. Everyone sucks here except Haley and her mother. You're the a-hole because you haven't dumped your girlfriend. Why would you be with someone who is so disrespectful, insecure, rude, childish, and cruel to your daughter? You also didn't defend your daughter. I shouldn't have to tell you why your girlfriend is the a-hole. If I do, please see the paragraph above. The woman is jealous of his child, jealous of his ex, deliberately cruel to daughter, and he chooses to keep dating her? Some people's standards are so damn low. Not stay home. Your girlfriend's out of her freaking mind. Dump her immediately. You're the a-hole. She leaves early, comes home late, and is eating out, and I can't help but blame my girlfriend for that. Actually, you should blame yourself. You're the one who lied to your kid in the first place, and you're the one who started a relationship with a jealous, children-hating woman. After what she did, you should have known she would be petty enough to hurt your kid just because. I don't think you're going to see much of your kid from now on. P.S. Can't believe you haven't broken up with a girlfriend. Now for the little update. Dumped her. Just got off the phone. Thank you all. Am I the a-hole for asking my sister-in-law if she didn't want kids? Why did she get pregnant? So this title is bad, I acknowledge this, but allow me to introduce you to my sister-in-law, Laurel. Laurel married my brother around 5 years ago. They had always been child-free and extremely proud of it, which I'm to a point. She has always been disparaging of children and the idea of children, and consistently would judge other mothers around us for how they handled their own kids. She would comment rude things about people who would breastfeed in public, or even be bold enough to tell them, "You should cover up because my husband can see you too." Overall, Laurel doesn't like kids. Well, guess what? Laurel is pregnant now, and both her and my brother planned this pregnancy, so it's not an accident. The family was very excited, but Laurel has made a misery out of the entire pregnancy, and to be honest, we know she plans to make a misery out of her poor kid's life as well. The baby is a girl, and she'll say things like, "I don't want to deal with her long hair, so I'll shave it off to keep it maintainable," or "I hate dresses. I'll never let her wear those." She refuses to let us buy the baby toys or anything enjoyable, saying that the child won't want those till they're like 3 years old. I don't even like babies, but I know that's a complete lie. I finally snapped when she was at a family dinner. She kept telling us how terrible it was to have to get the baby's room ready, and how she hated having to buy everything for it. How this kid was already so expensive and wasn't even here yet, and making her life miserable. I asked her why she got pregnant if she didn't want this kid. That was a bowling ball catastrophe. And even though my brother often tells me he asks the same thing, apparently Laurel doesn't like getting called out about her behavior toward her unborn child. Am I the a-hole for asking her if she didn't want kids, why did she get pregnant? Edit. Something else I'd like to add. Laurel's currently 35. She isn't young, and neither is my brother. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. For Pete's sake. Somebody had to ask. How does the brother not even know? How did this not come up during the planning? This isn't even an elephant in the room. It's a blue whale. Oh, he knows. He's just not talking for some reason. Not today home. She has his balls in her purse. This is a situation ripe for child mistreatment. Opie should have CPS on speed dial, ready to push that button the moment they suspect the kid is being mistreated. Not today home. But please plan on being the most awesome auntie ever. I have a feeling your niece will need someone in her life desperately. Heck yeah. Even if Laurel decides to cut it off with me, and by extension my brother because she has him in her pocket, I'll always be here for that kid in the future. Next story. Am I the a-hole for moving to avoid adopting my niece? My cousin had been on a bit of a wild child strike and ended up in prison. She got out and had her daughter, which made everyone think she's going to get it together. Well, she didn't. And my aunt had to take over all the parenting duties to keep CPS from taking her away. My aunt is now in her 50s and not healthy enough to care for my niece, who has started acting out in the same way as her mother. My cousin flits in and out of my niece's life and taken her back occasionally, only to bring her back to my aunt when she can't handle her anymore. The child has been in juvie already, and it seems she's going the same way as my cousin. My aunt is running out of options as my niece runs around town, and she isn't healthy enough to drive around searching for her in the middle of the night. So my aunt is trying to get the rest of the family to take care of her, but everyone refuses. My aunt is now pressuring me to adopt my cousin, who is 14. She doesn't mean legally, but to assume responsibility until the age of 18. My family is also taken to pressuring me since it will mean the pressure is taken off them. Also, most of them have person problems, kids. I don't want my niece to ruin their kids, while I don't have any. I absolutely don't want to. I don't want my cousin in my life, which will be inevitable if I adopt my niece. And my niece? She's basically my cousin on steroids. I have no idea how my cousin and niece ended up so messed up, and I don't want to wait to see my own life be ruined if I have to take care of my niece. Hell, I resisted not getting a dog during the pandemic because I couldn't commit to one long term, so there's no way I can commit to a child. I get emails and texts, and my aunt's banging on my door semi-frequently, once a week, dragging my niece in tow trying to get me to let her in. I have literally been in tears begging them to leave me alone. But we all live 2 to 3 hours away from each other, and only my mom is telling me not to do it. My boyfriend noticed the craziness from my family, and the midnight phone calls from my aunt trying to get me to come pick her up, and ask what we should do. I told him I just didn't want to be involved, and he suggested we move. We've been thinking of moving for a while now, actually. His family's in Oregon, and I've been thinking of moving for a few years. His family has a house that they're trying to rent out, and we could try there for a few weeks. We did that, and we're now in Oregon. I know my family aren't going to chase me here, and it's quiet. We went back to Arkansas for a few days to pack up what's left and visit some old friends. Somehow, someone let it slip I was coming because my aunt is at my door screaming at me for leaving without a word. My boyfriend calls his friend to come help us take the rest of our stuff, and we leave. Then I see my aunt drop to her knees crying, and now I feel horrible since she's such a proud woman, and I've never seen her like this. I know what's best for me, not adopting my niece, but am I the a-hole here? 100% not the a-hole. In my opinion, what she is asking you is completely insane. Do not feel bad. You did what you had to do. Your aunt is in a horrible situation, but it is not your fault and not your responsibility to fix. My family's also taken to pressuring me since it will mean the pressure is taken off them. Definitely not the a-hole. Notice how everyone else wants you to do it, so they don't have to. You made a right choice. This reminds me of a saying I once heard. Raise your kids right or raise your grandkids. Sounds like she's trying to force the grandkid onto someone else after failing to raise her own kid. Not today home. Sorry you had to get run out of your own home to avoid all this crazy. But on the upside, Oregon is a nice place. Underrated wine country too. Also, do try to find out who the rat is that told your aunt had cut them out like cancer. Not the a-hole. Your cousin's child is not your child, and not your responsibility. I feel sorry for this girl as her mother has clearly done a number on her. She may also be acting out because she feels like no one wants her. As tragic as that is, again, this is not a burden that you should have to assume. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for turning my plate around after being served dinner by my mother-in-law? My husband, 29 male, and I, 23 female, have been married for a year, but have been together for almost 3 years now. We are currently staying with my in-laws for 2 weeks, whilst our house gets painted. My sister-in-law and her husband and 2 kids are also living with my in-laws as well. Sadly, my mother-in-law doesn't like me very much, and she wanted my husband to marry one of her friend's daughter, who was also his ex. But I still try to be as friendly as possible with her, since she is my husband's mother. I just want to add that we could have stayed in a hotel, but my mother-in-law insisted that my husband stay with them. So, I was helping my mother-in-law cook dinner. We made a simple dish of salmon and some veggies, and she plated the food and placed them on the dinner table whilst I were making our dessert. I had made an apple crumble beforehand, but it was too sweet for her liking, so she told me to make it again. After we all sat down to eat, I noticed the way my plate was oriented, and the salmon was on the right and the veggies were on the left. For nearly everyone, this isn't a big deal and wouldn't bother them. But I have a bit of a quirk that my meat/fish should always be on the left, and any vegetables or sides should be on the right. It's very hard to explain, but unless I move my food around so that the meat is on the left and anything else is on the right, I find it very hard to eat and swallow. To solve this issue, I just turned my plate in 180 degrees so that the salmon would be on the left and the veggies on the right. I didn't say anything or make any expression. But my mother-in-law noticed me turning my plate around and started to blow up. She said that moving something that was already set on the table was bad manners, and couldn't believe how rude I was being in her house. I apologized and tried to explain that I just had this thing where one thing needs to be on a certain side, but she interrupted me and went on a tangent saying that this shows how immature I am, and that my husband's ex never behaved like this. My husband tried to calm her down, saying that we shouldn't argue whilst having dinner, but then she started complaining about how I couldn't cook, because whilst making dinner together, she kept having a problem with how big I cut the veggies, even though they were perfectly normal sized, and how bad of a wife I was for not being able to do simple things. Throughout the entire meal, she kept complaining, and I felt horrible and was pretty much on the verge of tears. My sister-in-law later told me that her kids are more mature than I am, and my husband also got annoyed at me and said I ruined dinner for the whole family, and this whole mess could have been avoided if I had done nothing. I now feel horrible for ruining dinner, especially since my husband works a lot and doesn't see his family often. Now for the comments. Not an a-hole, but your mother-in-law, sister-in-law, and dear husband are. They sound like toxic people. Your husband should have your back here. Go stay in a hotel, for your sanity if anything. And find a good divorce lawyer as well. This is mistreatment. What a horribly vindictive family, and how incredibly telling it is for your husband to gang up on you. All because you turned your plate around? Turned your plate around? What planet are these people from where turning your plate around is even noticed? This was absolutely a setup by mother-in-law, who intended to do this to you so she could bring up the ex. And sister-in-law took the opportunity to make you feel worse, and your husband piled on the first opportunity. Unless he's willing to go through some serious therapy to fix these massive issues, you will eventually divorce. I would cut my losses at this point if he isn't immediately, genuinely, and completely apologetic. You have done nothing wrong in this, even if you had cut the vegetables wrong. Not stay home. Your mother-in-law and sister-in-law are looking for an excuse to put you down. It didn't matter if you were perfect. They would have found something. I'm more concerned that your husband didn't 100% have your back while you were being mistreated by his family. I know you didn't ask for advice, but this sounds like it could be a very troublesome marriage. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister that her infertility is not my problem? I'm 18 female and 34 weeks pregnant. My sister is 35 female and suffers with infertility. She has no kids and is starting to look into adoption. When I told her I was pregnant, she immediately started going crazy. She said it's not fair, that I'm abusing my fertility, and that I should give my baby up because I have life to live. It's been like this my entire pregnancy. Most recently, she started asking me if I want to try a co-parenting relationship with her, where I give her my baby 2 days of the week and make her a legal custodian. I said no to this one too. She also keeps asking me to adopt my baby to her, and it's just not happening. She came over for brunch this morning and brought up the idea of her adopting my baby. I am very much prepared for. This time, I snapped and said to her, I don't understand what it's like not to be able to have children, but your fertility is not my problem to solve, and I am not giving you my child. Please don't push me. Everyone in the room thinks I am the a-hole for this, and my parents are giving me the cold shoulder for being so insensitive. Am I the a-hole? Not day hole. Do not let your sister babysit. Do not leave her alone with your child. 1,000,000 times this. This is a true crime documentary waiting to happen. I think there was an episode like this of Twisted Sisters on Discovery ID. There was. She found out her sister was pregnant, lied to her husband that she was pregnant too, faked her entire pregnancy, gave birth alone a few days after her sister, then took her sister and new baby on a drive, offed her sister with a rock to the head and pushed her over a bridge. She took the baby home, and her husband returned, who then called the police when he realized the baby looked an awful lot like her sister's. She had blood on her and was not acting normal. Not day hall, because how many times do you have to say no? Tell her to accept the no and move on, because if she doesn't, then you're done talking to her until she does. Your parents are trying to comfort her, but not realizing they're just not acting right towards you. Talk to them. Tell them you shouldn't have to keep hearing it from her over and over again. Congratulations on your baby. Edited to add, I agree with others who have said please do not ever leave your baby with your sister. She sounds desperate enough to take the baby and run. Yeah, no. You're not an a-hole for not giving away your child. How the hell does that even sound? How does this even cross someone's mind? This is so crazy to the point it sounds a little bit unreal. Not an a-hole. Given the fact that she's literally trying to beg, buy, or steal your baby, what you said is mild. Struggling with infertility is rough. I hope your sister recognizes that she needs therapy to cope, because she's clearly not coping well. Last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my sister she won't get to babysit again while her boyfriend is around? I have a 4-year-old daughter and a 2-year-old son. I have a younger sister who about a year ago started dating a guy I went to high school with. The guy was not a good guy then, and he got into trouble, was arrested, treated others terribly, and did some things that show he is not a good person to have around kids. My sister is normally a really reliable and trustworthy person, but her taste in men has never been good. She dated a guy who had kids and didn't take care of them and wanted to marry him. She dated a dealer for a while. She dated a guy who went to prison 2 months in and stayed with him for a few months after his release because she didn't believe his stealing from his brother's girlfriend was enough reason to break up. This current guy is still rough around the edges, to say the least. I met him twice since, and the second time, he tried to pick a fight with my husband because they disagreed on a video game and he, sister's boyfriend, was mad. We're talking real mad, to the point my husband had to just leave. My sister had babysat a couple of times for us in the past, and she loved doing it. Then 2 weekends ago, my husband and I were having a night out with friends. She offered to babysit, but I said it was okay, we already had plans made, which was true, but those plans were my husband's parents were out of the way. My sister realized this after my daughter told her that grandma gave her ice cream for dinner. My sister was hurt that I didn't make the easy decision of her. I told her I didn't feel comfortable leaving my kids with her while her boyfriend is around. She told me I judged him too hard. We talked at length about him before. She claims he has changed, that he was always misunderstood, etc. I told her she wasn't in school with him, and she didn't see his crap on a daily basis back then. I also pointed out his reaction over a video game disagreement, but she said he was just having a bad day. So I told her I wouldn't want him having a bad day around my kids. She said I should still trust her and rely on her to take care of my kids. I told her there will be no babysitting for her while he's around. She said he's going to be their uncle, so I better get used to him being around. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. People change from high school, but he clearly still has anger issues if he actually gets mad about a disagreement about video games. Opie has a duty to protect her children. I'd rather have hurt feelings than put my kids in a potentially dangerous situation. I told her I wouldn't want him having a bad day around my kids. Exactly my thoughts. If he blows up about video games and wants to fight a grown man, he's very likely to blow up at smaller annoyances. And kids, while I love them, can be annoying. Not day home. Keep them away from him. Not day home. She said he's going to be their uncle, so I better get used to him being around. Okay, she can marry whoever she wants. You can assign whoever you want as a babysitter. Am I the a-hole for kicking my sister out for how she reacted to my pregnancy announcement? Mom passed away 4 years ago and my sister and I received inheritance. All Mom owned was split between us equally except for her house. In her will, she wrote the house goes to whoever has kids in the future to help the grandchildren. Then mentioned that if me and my sister have kids, we'll split the house value in half. It was obvious my sister and her previously child-free husband wanted a house so bad because within weeks of the funeral, she announced she was pregnant, but couldn't keep it since she announced miscarriage days later. She didn't stop till she had a son over a year later. Then she kept getting involved in my marriage, advising me to reconsider because of my husband's condition that had us suffer from infertility. He was also in remission for his mental condition when he had an accident that impacted his jaw and left leg. Recovery has been long and draining. We got help from nobody, and the past years were awful. My sister kept referring to my mom's house as officially her son, since she has a kid and I don't/won't. Till my husband and I found out we are expecting recently. We invited family over to make the announcement, and when she heard, she was shocked. She asked if I was serious, then called me unbelievable to go as far as to lie just so I get to share her kid's house. I was speechless. She said even if I was pregnant, we shouldn't be parents, and brought up my husband's BPD ignoring he recovered, brought up his disability which he got rehab for, saying this was a mistake because she never expected me to stay with my husband after everything. My husband heard that, but kept smiling at her as she listed the reasons why we should reconsider keeping this baby. I argued that we decided it's none of her business, and then my husband got involved and sarcastically said, "Oh, Aunt Helen is just mad now that she'll have to share Mama's house. Just say it. It's written all over your face." This upset her a lot. It escalated and I told her brother-in-law to leave. My dad and aunt told me not to, but I still kicked her out. My aunt said my sister was surprised and under the impression me and my husband weren't going to work due to several reasons including infertility, so she was right to react this way. Adding she didn't appreciate what my husband said, and the house is last of my sister's worries because she promised to look after me when my mom passed. They want me to apologize and resolve this. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. NTA, 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 NTA. Oh my god, what an absolute psychopath. Get a lawyer. Get a copy of that will and only communicate through that lawyer. She will make your life miserable no matter what happens from here on out. I would cut contact and let a legal team deal with any situation regarding the will in the house. Yeah, OP, do this. Like now. I'm a lawyer. Get off Reddit and start looking people up. I just got some serious RAMP nightmare flashbacks reading this post. For those uninitiated, RAMP stands for Rule Against Perpetuity, the most evil and reviled topic in law. Everyone sucks here. The biggest a-hole here is your mother for writing the will the way she did. This has made both you and your sister view each other's pregnancy as opportunistic. Right? Opie's view of her sister's pregnancy isn't any kinder. Everyone sucks here. I mean, if it is true that they were child-free up until they found out they could get a free house, then it's kind of unforgivable for them to pop out an unwanted child just to financially benefit from that kid. Your mother is the a-hole. In many jurisdictions, that will could be challenged, most likely successfully. Thank you. Was just thinking the mom is the biggest a-hole for setting everyone up for fighting, and for making it so the conflict would happen after she was gone so she wouldn't have to deal with the aftermath. My grandmother was the same with inheritance, but she made it about medical issues some of us had at the time, instead of children. You can't predict what's going to happen in the future, so wills like this are foolish. I feel the most sorry for the sister's kid who was literally conceived for the purpose of the child-free parents getting a bigger cut of the inheritance. I imagine their life won't be easy. Next story. Am I the a-hole for throwing my sister's passwords in her face when she asked for a favor after years of estrangement? I, 26 female, have a sister, 28 female. We haven't talked in 6 years. We were very close to not talking for like 4 years before that, and growing up we never had a good relationship. She was the person teachers loved, the smart kid in our family, the one who was naturally very gifted at academics. I was never. I struggled even with my best effort, and teachers hated me for it. When I would start out with a teacher, I was Kate's sister, and they had such high expectations for me, but soon learned I wasn't Kate, and some hated me for it. Some were just unable to understand that I was trying my best but wasn't smart. I never was smart like that. Our parents really wanted me to be more like Kate. They would praise the crap out of her and tell me to try harder, to stop making excuses for my D grades. Then I found out I was autistic when I was like 7, after a really awesome substitute teacher made a huge impact on me. Didn't really matter to my parents though. And a year later, my sister started to hate me because she felt I was ruining her reputation with the teachers. She told me our parents should drop me off at home for dumb and mentally impaired kids. Over the years, our parents really did encourage her to try and make me better, and would really encourage me to try and be more like her. Eventually, we just both hated each other to the point of no return. She told me I ruined her life, and made her life harder for her with my lack of a brain, and I should have been terminated. We were 15 and 17 when that happened. Anyway, we haven't talked in years, when suddenly she reaches out asking for a favor. That her future in-laws are close, and that she needs me to show up and make it seem like we still talk so they don't judge her. I threw her words in her face about me being terminated, and told her I was too dumb to help her out. She told me I was petty and childish, and extended family sided with her on it. Because it's been so long, why would I do that sort of thing? Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. The only reason she re-established contact was to ask you to lie for her. Let her wallow in the consequences of her own choices. This in itself speaks volumes about the attitude the older sister and parents have towards Obi. It's like saying, I have no interest in having a good relationship with you, making amends for being an a-hole or any kind of effort in general. But I know this reflects badly on me, so you have an obligation to lie and make me look good in front of others. She just doesn't want her future husband and in-laws to find out how nasty and selfish she is before getting married. You're right. This is why my going rate for keeping up appearances for crap like this is $5,000 per day. Haven't had any takers, but people no longer bother me for this type of thing. It works for me. Not a a-hole. 1. She doesn't want to actually fix anything. She just wants to use you to lie to her in-laws. 2. You have no obligation to do anything for someone you've not spoken to for that long. 3. What your sister said was, in my opinion, unforgivable. 4. It sounds like your parents and sister failed you with their behavior, not getting you help and expecting you to just get good grades. 5. Your parents are the a-holes for having a favorite child and not valuing you for yourself. I agree. Not an a-hole. I agree with all points too. But like, if Opie is petty, I'd go and say all of that in front of the in-laws. Then be like, I'm sorry, I'm clearly too dumb to read social cues. That's what I do. The vindictive a-hole part of me wants you to go and play it out. Oh, remember all the good times we had growing up, Opie? Nope. I remember you telling me I should have been terminated or ditched in a home. So if that's what you're talking about, then yeah, good times. Not the a-hole. Came here for this response. I would go, and then just air all the ugly details right in front of everyone. Not the a-hole, Opie, and a better person than I. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for getting angry at my sister-in-law because of what she did? My brother, Ryan, got married 4 years ago to his childhood friend, Amy. Everything was great. Until 2 weeks ago when my brother suddenly showed up to my apartment crying uncontrollably and in the middle of a mental breakdown. Apparently, Amy had been pregnant for a month and a half and got rid of it without his knowledge. He was on a business trip. The truth came out while they were in an argument because he noticed that she's been sick for a week and she's been ignoring him on purpose for seemingly no reason. Ryan was obviously devastated because they've been trying to have a baby for a year. I'll let him stay with me at the moment while he tries to think things over. I confronted Amy, and she absolutely doesn't care that my brother was deeply hurt. She told me the usual "my body, my choice" phrase, and that Ryan doesn't have the right to dictate what she wants to do with her body. I agreed with her on that, but I also told her that she should have communicated with my brother because it was also his child. She told me that she changed her mind about having kids and wanted to live child-free for the rest of her life. She was just looking for the right moment to tell Ryan about it. But she found out that she was a month pregnant and immediately decided that she didn't want it. She wasn't supposed to tell Ryan, but it slipped out during their heated argument. I was so angry at her selfish views and told her that my brother should divorce her lying butt. She was shocked, and she apparently contacted mine and her family about it when I left their house. The fight lasted for too long, and now everyone in both sides, except me, is against my brother, because they think that he should still be supportive and loving towards her because having the procedure isn't easy. Even my parents told him to man up, but accept that he can't control Amy's body. I was also getting heat because I was enabling my brother's sexist views. Am I the a-hole? Edit. For those wondering why I was the one who confronted her, My brother had been having breakdowns for 3 days straight. I went to her because I want for them to talk and for her to help her husband. She never called nor texted in those 3 days at all. The conversation turned sour when she told me that she didn't care for my brother. Now for the top comments. Although I wholeheartedly agree with my body, my choice, I find it odd that a wife who was actively trying to have a baby for a year would get the procedure. Something doesn't feel right on this one. I think you are completely justified in your comment to your brother that he should divorce your lying butt. Info: does your brother travel for work often? I'm wondering if there was a strong possibility that the baby wasn't your brother's? Yes. He is a private architect, so he travels a lot for his clients. I would put money on the child not being your brother's. And I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but if she was cheating, then reason for the termination wasn't solely because the baby wasn't his. She may have also cheated with someone of a different race. Because this would be a situation where she wouldn't be able to pass the child off as Opie's brother's because it'd be evident that the child isn't his. Just a theory. But hey, what do I know? Not day home. I agree it is her right, but it is also his right not to want to be married to her anymore. Especially if they really have been trying to have a child. That's not a decision like deciding what color to paint the kitchen. Having children / being child-free is a deal breaker for a lot of people. And if her brother travels a lot, I could see her getting her tubes tied, if she could find a willing doctor, and never saying anything to her husband. Not a-hole. Last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not letting my sister and her family move into my house? I'm 27 female and my partner 29 male, recently bought our first home. This was huge for us as we live in New Zealand, and house prices have been skyrocketing over the last few years. And even with the $70,000 that I inherited from my grandparents, both of us working full-time, and a loan from my partner's parents of $20,000, we only just managed to scrape through and get the place we wanted. It is a 2-bedroom, plus a small office where my partner will work from home. I'm a builder, he's a lawyer. My sister, 29 female, is unemployed and has no education past college. In addition, she has 5 kids and has recently found out she's pregnant with her 6th. Her partner is being let out of prison soon but will be on home detention, and her current landlords don't want him living in their house. He has historically been destructive of their property, so they've asked my sister to leave. She has until February next year to find a new place, as that's when their fixed term is up. My sister approached me and asked to move into our place. I said if they didn't find somewhere in time that they could stay with us temporarily, but there wasn't enough room to stay for more than a couple weeks, and that 7 months was more than enough time to find a place. She basically said that there was plenty of room. Partner and I could move into the office, less than 10 square meters in size. She and her partner would take our bedroom along with her youngest, who is 2 female, and her other 4 male, 5 male, 9 female, and 9 male, would share the second bedroom. I said absolutely not, that if she was desperate, I'd help her, but I wasn't going to give up the majority of our house that we'd worked our butts off for. She retaliated that I didn't even have kids, so I didn't know how hard life was. And I pointed out that when our grandparents passed away, she got the same $70,000 that I did, as well as $15,000 for each of her children that she had at the time. So why hadn't she got a job and used that $130,000 as a deposit on a house for her children? She told me to screw off, and that what she spent her money on was none of my business. Basically, it's been over 2 weeks now, and everyone in my family is hassling me to let her move into our house. My partner's completely against it due to the noise of 5 kids and a baby disturbing his work, and my sister's partner was horrible to him years ago before he went to prison. I don't want to bend, but at the same time, my entire family is treating me like I'm a huge a-hole, so I need some independent views. Edited to clarify, college in New Zealand is equivalent to high school in the States, or A/AS levels in the UK. Here, tertiary education is called university, not college. Not a-hole, and oh my god, do not let her in the door. She will ruin your life as she has ruined her own. How can your husband work from home if he has no office and there are little kids running everywhere? If you let her in your house, even in an emergency, it's going to be a gigantic mess that will be incredibly hard to untangle. How would you get them out if they refuse to leave? Absolutely no. State it once, twice, endlessly. Don't engage in reasoning or discussion. Just say over and over again the exact same message. The answer is no. This If you let them in the door, they will take over your house and never leave. No is a complete sentence. Yep. If you let them in, it's over. There's no room for them. But maybe help your sister figure out contraception. And tell all those relatives that if they're so eager to see your sister housed with family, then they should take her and her children and her felon partner into their homes. See how fast that shuts everyone up. Not stay home. Don't let her move in at all. Not even for a week. Because they'll never leave. And her boyfriend will trash the place, as seems to be his history. Your family thinks she deserves help so much, they can let her move in with them. Not stay home. Write this down. Nobody in your family cares about you, your sister, or her kids. What they care about is that they don't have to take your sister, her six-pack of kids, and pearly boyfriend in themselves. And that they don't have to listen to her continued whining about how mean you are. That is the entirety of the "my entire family's treating me like I'm a huge a-hole" thing. I expect you as the first person to actually confront your sister on her crap, rather than flush the crap into somebody else's toilet, metaphorically speaking. You know full well that if you let your sister move in, she will never leave. Your marriage will fail, the house will get sold in a breakup, and your sister will only leave when the new buyers have law enforcement forcibly remove her. This is a very bad, toxic situation. When families don't take a stand together against what sounds a lot like addiction and/or severe narcissism, it's a disaster. Your family is basically abandoning you here by pressuring you to agree to a life-destroying request. This might be a good time to tell the whole lot of them to make like wallabies and bounce. I also think that a couple of $100 to get an hour of legal advice from a lawyer might be a great investment if only for your mental health. I'll add one thing. 6 kids, husband in jail, $130,000 that quickly disappeared. To me, there's only one explanation for that. Maybe you can think of another explanation for that, but I can't.
The woman who caused the death of my best friend just messaged me. My friend, Mark, killed ended himself 6 years ago because of a girl named Amy, a schoolmate, who accused him of assault. It costed him everything, his scholarship, most of his friends, and even most of his family members abandoned him. His own mother told him to die and burn in hell before going no contact. The only people who believed him were his dad and me. Why? Because the two of us were together all day, playing video games in his dad's house as his parents are divorced. During the night Amy claimed that Mark attacked her. I was staying for a week in their house, and the date Amy mentioned was the second day of my stay. Amy and Mark knew each other because they're both in the volleyball team of our university. She's not a classmate, she's not a friend, and she's not even an acquaintance. According to the people I've previously talked to, Amy was involved in a girls-only night out with her dormmates. They've been having deep conversations, and when Amy was asked if she ever had experience in being violated, she blurted out Mark's full name and a specific date and time. After their night out, the other girls immediately spread this accusation all over Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, calling Mark a criminal. They even messaged some professors and the dean of our department. Amy's family tried to press charges, but the case was dropped after Mark's dad showed countless evidence proving Mark's whereabouts the entire day, including a video of me playing League of Legends while he makes fun of me by being a terrible player, taken by Mark himself that he posted on his Twitter during the exact time Amy claimed that Mark did it to her. During all of this, Amy was nowhere to be found. Of course, things didn't magically stop after proving that Mark was legally innocent. And after 6 months of enduring continuous violent harassment from Amy's family and her boyfriend, death threats both online and in person from schoolmates and neighbors, and being abandoned by almost everyone he loved, Mark took his own life in December 2, 2017. People freaking celebrated his death because people still believe that he did it. It was one of the most painful experiences that I've ever had in my entire life. He was like a brother to me, and he was one of the kindest and most awesome people that I know. The anger and the grief are still so freaking ripe in my heart even after years of therapy. Then yesterday, Amy messaged me after 6 years of silence. The first thing she said, "I'm sorry." She freaking admitted to randomly saying Mark's name because he was the first person she thought of. She panicked because she never had an experience in being violated, and thought that she was out of place because most of the girls in that party had experienced it before. She told me that it was because she was young and stupid. She justified herself by saying that she never thought that it would go out of hand because the other girls promised that their conversation would be a secret. She thought that Mark wouldn't be affected because they don't know each other and have very different social circles. She was too afraid to say anything because her lies spread way too freaking much for her to control it. That was the reason why she was nowhere to be found during those times where everything went to hell. I asked her why she was telling me this, and she told me that she had been feeling guilty for the past 6 years and thought that it was time for her to come clean because her therapist told her so. Her family doesn't know. Her boyfriend, who she's been with for 8 years now, doesn't know. Mark's family doesn't know. And all of the people who believed her didn't know. She only admitted it to me. I'm so freaking angry that I can't even put it into words. This woman killed my best friend and thinks that everything will be okay afterwards. She's the freaking reason a good person like Mark is now forever gone. I haven't replied to her, and I'm afraid that I would just say so many horrendous things to her. I don't want to tell Mark's dad because he's still going through grief and has spiraled deep into depression since Mark passed. I'm tempted to spread our conversation online, but I know that it would drag me down to the same level as her and her friends. I freaking hate everything right now. Now for the top advice. If she really is sorry, you should probably get her to confess to the police. The therapist told her she should come clean, and she tells one of the few people that knew the truth she's a freaking coward. She was a coward from the start. She didn't stop the lies from spreading more because she was afraid to admit that she was lying. Hid the secret for 6 years, and when she finally gathered the courage to confess, she did to someone who already knew it. Shameful. And because she felt out of place. How in the world is that reason justified? And being young and stupid. She saw people harassing and accusing Mark for such a long time and didn't even say anything. To hell with being the bigger person. Drag her. An innocent person is dead because of her lies. She literally made up a story to fit in. She was old enough to know better. OP should lawyer up, now he has more evidence. This OP, your conversation with her and her admission could give your friend's father enough to pursue a wrongful death charge against her. You need to talk to your friend's family about her confession. Tell her if she is really sorry to attempt to clear it up in the same circles she spread it, publicly. To her whole friends and family, the college is family everywhere. Saying it to the one person who knew it was false is a cop-out. If she won't, then put that in the admission up yourself showing you gave her a chance. She doesn't get to just pay lip service and feel better. Clear his name or carry around the guilt of crushing that man into ending his life. So sorry for your loss and the unfairness of it all. This is the right answer. If she can't confess to everyone, is she truly remorseful? She is trying to get you to do it because it will be less embarrassing for it to come from your mouth instead of hers. Next story. I messed up by helping ruin my son's life. My son has been in college since last fall. Last November, my 16-year-old stepdaughter brought up allegations that my son had used her repeatedly for several years. I confronted my son, and he categorically denied it. But I knew that even though he was my son, I could not defend him for such an awful act. So my wife and I reported him to the authorities. My son was arrested in December and held in prison for several weeks because I refused to provide him bail money. He was eventually expelled from his Ivy League college. In the middle of January, my stepdaughter broke down and admitted she lied about everything. She had actually been sleeping with her boyfriend and was scared the news would reach us. The charges were dismissed and my son was released immediately, but the damage was done. His first girlfriend from college ended things with him. The news spread about the allegations, and all his childhood friends have decided to just stay away from him, even though I called each and every one of them personally. I have called the school and explained the situation, and even though they sympathized, they said he needed to reapply for the next school year and go through the admissions process again. My son is understandably furious at us. He has moved back home and refuses to talk to me at all. Both my wife and I have apologized to him repeatedly. We have banned my stepdaughter from our home permanently, and she has been sent to live with her father in another state. My wife and I also agreed to completely disinherit her from our wills. It has been a very painful situation, and all of us started therapy. The realization of how badly I ruined my son's life hit me when I picked up his first prescription of antidepressants today. I bawled my eyes out in my car. He is the pride and joy of my life. He is outgoing, funny, intelligent, and the kindest person I know. But when I handed him his medication, I could not even recognize him. He locks himself in his room, does not eat properly, and has lost several pounds so far. Whenever I try talking to him, I just see the hate he has for me in his eyes. I don't know if I can ever get him to love me again. I know he is on Reddit very often. Ted, if you are reading this, I want to tell you again how sorry your stepmom and I are. I promise I will get you into college again. I know I can't get you back the year you lost. But I will do everything in my power to make this right. Everything I have has always been for you. I hope you will give me a chance to fix this. I love you so much it hurts. I failed as a father and I hope one day you will forgive me. You know, I was kinda angry at the stepdaughter for lying like she did, but then I realized, as soon as she gave the accusation, you put your son in jail and got him expelled. And as soon as you found out she lied, you sent her away and disinherited her. If she told you she was sexually active, you probably would have sent her to live with her grandparents and never spoke to her again. You people managed to ruin 2 kids' lives. So you reported him to the police without double, triple, quadruple checking everything, especially when you knew how decent your son was. This is by far the most disturbing thing I've read on here this whole week, or maybe month. No sympathy towards you at all. You deserve what's coming to you. The only person I feel bad for is your son. I don't know if I can ever get him to love me again. I doubt it. If it happens, it will take years, maybe decades. Couple of things. First, don't ever refer to this screw-up as the year he lost. He lost way more than a year, and if you can't see that, you're in even bigger trouble than you know. Secondly, your son is probably now a self-harm risk. You need to make damn sure he stays on his meds. Your feelings, your needs, your comfort are all utterly secondary now. You'll probably never fix what you've done. That said, you now have an indisputable obligation to provide for him, indefinitely, no matter what. You took his bright future and destroyed it because you believed one of your children over another. Why? You've not answered anyone yet. You need to surface and respond. I can't fathom why any parent would do what you did, especially to a child who, it seems, had never given you reason to doubt his moral compass. It sickens me. I don't understand why you're posting. The promises you make above should be made to your son directly. Using Reddit to announce them seems like a cheap, toxic attempt to shame him into interacting with you, and will probably have the opposite effect. If you were my father, I'd never forgive you, and I ever got my life straight again, I'd cut all ties. If your son ever lets you back in, I hope you spend the rest of your life thanking him for that in concrete ways. Sad story. I don't think he'll ever forgive you. I wouldn't. If I had done that to my son, I wouldn't expect him to forgive me. Probably the worst thing you could have ever done to him. I know that's horrible news, but you will just have to hope he at least tolerates you for the rest of his life. Stuff like that will follow him for the rest of his life, and he will be constantly reminded of it in every relationship he has in the future when he has to explain it to potential partners. Every time he applies for a job, I'd imagine it will come up. This is probably the worst TIFU I've ever seen. Last story. I read a post about a woman who escaped from her dangerous boyfriend, and it may have saved my life. My wife is the breadwinner. We started off as a team, having met in college. I was studying to be a nurse, and she was studying to be an accountant. She was further along in school than I was, so when she became pregnant unplanned, it made sense that she continue on getting her degree after the baby came, and I'd stay home until our little ones were school-aged. Unfortunately, our plans halted when one of our baby boys were born 2 months early. He has several special needs at this point in time, and needs full-time care. I was devoted to him, putting off my studies and social life to be at home with him full-time. My wife loved our arrangement though, and so did I. That happiness quickly disappeared when my wife became jealous of the bonds I had with each of our children. She started pulling away even more as time went on. Her antics escalated, from yelling and cursing at me to throwing things and punching me. Luckily, our children have never visually witnessed any of the physical harm that I know of, but I am sure they've heard it. We got into a horrible argument last week, and I packed a bag for the kids, and we went to my mom's house. We are safe, thank God, but my wife went on a rampage as soon as we left. She took permanent marker, scissors, and spray paint to all of our stuff. She wrote curse words and extremely vulgar and graphic descriptions of me on all of their sheets and bedding. And she cut up a lot of their clothes. She did it to make sure she could humiliate me, since I was refusing to speak with her. My kids do not understand, and I can't help them to because I'm afraid it will just be more traumatic for them. I just hate this because I can't replace their stuff, and I'm at a loss. I have been afraid of my wife for an extremely long time, and sometime last year, I started saving up. I knew we had to make our escape after I read a woman's post about how she finally had the courage to leave her dangerous boyfriend. I know I'm doing the right thing, but man is it hard. I can't vent to anyone other than my mom, because my wife has isolated me from everyone I've ever cared about. I don't have much family as it is, but had a great group of friends. I actually ran into a couple of our mutual friends the other day, and they asked me how I was doing. They already knew quite a bit, so I decided to vent. I hadn't really said too much when they looked at each other and kind of laughed and said something along the lines of, "Men can't be physically mistreated by a woman. Apparently because I'm bigger than she is, I can't be punched by her." So here I am, venting to Reddit because I cannot hold it in any longer. My own friends are on her side. No one sees things for as they are. I look like a deadbeat because she makes more money than I do, and it looks like I don't contribute. I'm so broken up inside. Now for the comments. It takes incredible strength to leave an awful relationship, and you are doing great. This part is important. Document everything. You need this to protect yourself and your children. You will all be fine, but you need to take pictures of everything and make a police report. Try and communicate via text so you have written evidence. You need all of this to help you get full custody and a restraining order. There needs to be a pattern of mistreatment, so document and report everything you can, with as much evidence and witnesses as you can, along with dates. I wish you luck freeing yourself and your children of her. The legal system is not kind to men in custody cases, so I'm going to second this with great emphasis. I'm not a family law lawyer myself, but my colleague is, and we just watched her go through a horrible case where the wife was framing the husband despite her being the dangerous one. Document everything. I'm not trying to frighten you, you are absolutely doing the right thing, but document everything she does. Take pictures or recordings, date them, record the times, anything like that. If your country or state or province etc. allows it, then record every interaction with her. Make a police report, or several. Try and contact the friends you do have, and let them know what's happening so she can't lie to them first, and turn them against you. Then when you can, take her to court for child support as well, if you wish. I am wishing you all the best, OP. Take pictures of everything. It will help you in the long run. Spousal harm, regardless of gender, is mistreatment. Men get mistreated way more than anyone can imagine. Because of the stupid mindset men can't be mistreated, they stay silent until they snap. Good on you for having the courage. Kids don't need to know the ends of what's really happening. When they are older, they will understand. From one DV survivor to another, you got this. Stand your ground and don't go back. You're more than welcome to DM me if you want. Hang in there. And congrats on leaving. Except for a couple of details, this could be my brother's childhood best friend. My brother put his foot down and said he could not be in his friend's life as long as his friend stayed married to his toxic, awful, and very dangerous wife. My brother said, I'll be there for you when you figure things out and leave her, but I can't be around you and your kids now because I'm going to want to drag her out of your life and my butt will end up in prison. My brother didn't actually say this verbatim. There were a lot more F-bombs and he said he wanted to break her neck. My brother is still close to his friend's parents and siblings, so my brother still hears things. But they know to not have my brother around when she's there. She moved on to verbally and emotionally mistreating the kids. OP, if your wife is jealous of your kids, you can believe she'd start to verbally and emotionally harm them too. OP, you were right to run. Things with this woman will not get better. Document everything, emails, texts, and pictures. If she sends a nasty voicemail, save it. If she calls, record it. If she cuts you off financially, make note of that. It's going to be hard, but lots of people are pulling for you, even if your so-called friends are clueless dopes.